Something is shifting in the air, and if you've been feeling it, even faintly, this message is not reaching you by accident. There is a magnetic pull forming beneath the surface of your life, quiet, powerful, unmistakable. And for twin flames around the world, the energy building right now is unlike anything we've seen all year. You may have noticed your intuition sharpening, your emotions softening, or your mind growing strangely calm. You may have felt a sudden distance from people, a surge of clarity, or moments of déjà vu you couldn't explain. These are not coincidences. These are signals. Your soul has been preparing you for a convergence that is coming sooner than you think. Because the first week of December holds a doorway. A doorway that only opens for those who are spiritually aligned, emotionally ready, and vibrationally attuned to the frequency of their twin flame. A doorway where unfinished cycles close, timelines shift, and reunion energy begins to take physical form. And something in you already knows it. The pull. The stillness. The anticipation that rises out of nowhere. So if life has been slowing down, if your heart has been waking up, or if you've been feeling that strange internal nudge that something big is coming, you're right. This is your preparation. This is your sign. Let's go deeper into what the first week of December truly means, and why the reunion energy is finally ready to unfold. There comes a moment on every spiritual path when your soul begins to quietly step back from the world. Not in sadness, not in overwhelm, but in preparation. When life suddenly feels slower, when conversations feel heavier, or when the desire to socialize fades without explanation, it can be easy to assume something is wrong. But what if this withdrawal isn't a retreat, but a recalibration? What if your soul is simply preparing you for an energetic upgrade that your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet? Before every major alignment, your energy becomes more selective. You may find yourself avoiding environments that once felt comfortable. You may feel drained around people who used to uplift you. You may crave silence more than stimulation. This isn't a sign of emotional shutdown, it's your vibration reorganizing itself. Your inner frequency begins shifting before your outer reality does. And as that shift happens, anything that isn't compatible with your next level naturally feels distant, blurry, or irrelevant. The soul knows where you're heading long before you take the physical steps toward it. When your vibration rises, it automatically rejects what cannot move with you. Old patterns lose their flavor. Old attachments lose their emotional pull. Old roles feel too small. You may not consciously decide to distance yourself from certain people or habits, but your energy does it for you. It's almost like your spirit is saying, "This version of you is complete. It's time to move forward." And anything that belongs to older timelines begins to loosen its grip, not through force, but through natural energetic mismatch. You no longer resonate with what once held your attention, because your soul has already begun aligning with higher frequencies that require emotional spaciousness, clarity, and peace. This withdrawal is not a collapse. It is a cleansing. It is your energetic field filtering out noise and distractions so you can hold the vibration of the timeline that is approaching. On a subconscious level, you're preparing for expansion, greater intuition, deeper clarity, and a more aligned version of yourself. The isolation you're experiencing is simply the cocoon stage before transformation. The silence that surrounds you is not emptiness, it is sacred preparation. This is where your soul rewrites old narratives. This is where emotional clutter dissolves. This is where readiness forms without being forced. Many people misunderstand this phase because it doesn't present itself through dramatic signs. Instead, it arrives subtly. You feel the need to rest more. You think more deeply. You crave peace instead of stimulation. You stop chasing what no longer feels aligned. This is your soul recalibrating your internal compass so that you step into your next chapter without dragging old energies along. You are being prepared to receive, not respond. To expand, not contract. To rise, not retreat. So if you've been withdrawing lately, trust that this is not a step backward. You are not losing momentum. You are not disconnecting from life. You are being refined. Your vibration is elevating. And your soul is making sure nothing from the old timeline dims the light you're about to step into. This is your preparation for the next level, quiet, sacred, deliberate, and divinely timed. When a major twin flame shift is nearing, the universe rarely announces it loudly. Instead, it begins with quiet, almost invisible changes, subtle internal movements that only your soul can recognize. These signs don't come with fireworks or dramatic revelations. They reveal themselves in the small spaces of your daily life, in the gentle alterations of your rhythm, in the sudden clarity that appears without explanation. And if you've been feeling different lately, even if you can't explain how or why, you may already be moving through this sacred transition. One of the first signs is the change in your sleep patterns, mood, and inner pace. Sometimes you may find yourself waking up at unusual hours, especially between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., the window where intuitive downloads and energetic adjustments are strongest. At other times, you may feel unusually tired, as if your soul is working harder in the background than your body realizes. Your mood may fluctuate, not dramatically, but softly, moments of stillness mixed with waves of introspection. Even your inner pace slows. You stop rushing. You start observing. Your energy becomes more intentional. This isn't fatigue, it's alignment. Your system is preparing itself to hold a higher frequency, and that preparation often shows up as shifts in your physical and emotional rhythms. A deeper sign, one that often surprises people, is the feeling of being done with patterns you once tolerated. Suddenly, the old versions of yourself no longer fit. Behaviors you accepted out of habit now feel heavy. Cycles you once repeated without question begin to feel uncomfortable. Emotional loopholes you used to fall into lose their pull. And you may not feel angry or sad about it, you just feel finished. Finished with the old emotional chase. Finished with old fears. Finished with giving energy to situations that drain you. This sense of completion is not apathy, it is graduation. Your soul is signaling that those patterns serve their purpose. The lesson has been integrated. The timeline is closing. And you no longer need to revisit what once kept you trapped. Then comes the most powerful silent sign, emotional neutrality replacing old triggers. This shift is often subtle but deeply transformational. Moments that used to activate you now feel strangely calm. Memories that once brought pain now feel distant. Silence that used to cause anxiety now feels peaceful. Even the twin flame dynamic itself becomes less chaotic. You no longer overthink their actions. You no longer create stories around their silence. You begin responding from clarity instead of fear. This neutrality is not numbness, it is mastery. It is the frequency of union forming within you. The emotional storms that once threw you off balance now move through you with ease because your vibration has evolved beyond reaction. You've entered the timeline where inner harmony becomes the foundation of the connection. When these silent signs appear, your soul is telling you that a shift is underway, a shift not rooted in longing, but in becoming. You are aligning with a higher version of yourself, and in that alignment, the path toward your twin flame becomes clearer, calmer, and more certain. Trust these quiet changes. They are the universe's way of showing you that reunion begins not with them, but with you. There is a certain stillness that arrives before life shifts in a powerful way. It doesn't come with warning signs or dramatic emotional waves. It doesn't announce itself with urgency. Instead, it settles over you gently, like the quiet moment before sunrise. If you've been feeling an unusual sense of peace lately, a calm that doesn't quite match your external circumstances, you may already be standing at the doorway of a spiritual breakthrough. This kind of peace is not accidental. It is a signal of spiritual completion. It is the soul's way of telling you that something inside you has finally aligned. The inner battles you once fought no longer carry weight. The old emotional patterns that once rattled you now feel distant, as if they belong to a different version of you. Peace arrives when the lesson has been integrated. When the inner struggle has dissolved. When the karmic loop has been closed. And what feels like quietness on the surface is actually your spirit stepping into a higher frequency, one that doesn't require chaos to evolve. But it's important to recognize the difference between calm and suppression. Suppression feels tense, tight, almost controlled. It's the forced stillness of pushing emotions down and hoping they disappear. It's the kind of quiet that feels unnatural, like holding your breath underwater. But true calm is soft. It doesn't require effort. It isn't something you try to create. It simply arrives. True calm feels like spaciousness inside your chest, like your soul finally having room to breathe. It feels like a deep knowing that you don't need to react, because what is meant for you is already aligning. Suppression drains your energy, calm restores it. Suppression disconnects you, calm reconnects you with your higher self. Breakthroughs require this energetic quietness, and that is why it arrives before major shifts. When your external world becomes still, your inner world can finally speak. The noise of fear softens. The noise of overthinking fades. The noise of old narratives loses its grip. In that silence, your intuitive voice becomes clearer. Your guidance becomes stronger. You begin to hear the whisper of your soul more than the echo of your mind. Breakthroughs never arise from chaos. They arise from alignment. And you cannot align with your next chapter while clinging to the noise of the last one. The quiet before a breakthrough is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the universe rearranging what needs to fall away and strengthening what needs to remain. It is your energy stabilizing so you can step into your next reality with clarity rather than confusion. This inner calm is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. It allows you to receive insights you couldn't see before, make decisions from truth rather than fear, and feel grounded even when nothing external has changed yet. So if you're experiencing this deep, unexplainable calm, honor it. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't assume something is missing. This peace is your confirmation. It means you've done the work. It means the shift is already happening. It means you're standing on the threshold of a breakthrough your soul has been preparing for long before your mind realized it. Trust the calm. It is not the end. It is the beginning. There are times in your spiritual journey when life seems to slow down without warning. Messages stop coming. People pull away. Plans dissolve. Opportunities pause. At first, this can feel unsettling, as if something has gone wrong, as if momentum has disappeared, or as if life is refusing to cooperate. But what looks like stagnation on the surface is often a sacred recalibration beneath it. When the universe slows your external life, it is never a punishment. It is preparation. One of the clearest signs of this divine slowdown is the sudden pause in communication. People who normally respond quickly become distant. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly become quiet. Even the twin flame connection can enter a moment of silence. And while your mind may try to interpret the meaning, your soul already understands the truth. The universe is creating space for you to hear yourself again. When communication pauses, inner communication amplifies. You begin to notice your intuition more clearly. You begin to see what energies you were absorbing unconsciously. You begin to reconnect with the voice within, the one you lose touch with when the world is too loud. Alongside the communication pause comes another powerful sign: plans being delayed or cancelled. Trips fall through. Meetings shift. Events change. Schedules become unpredictable. It feels like the world is slowing your steps, but this is intentional. Divine timing doesn't operate on human convenience, it operates on alignment. And sometimes your external life must pause so your internal life can catch up. A delay is often protection. A cancellation is often redirection. When movement stops, clarity begins to rise. The universe rearranges your path so that when things do move again, they move in the right direction. These pauses are not random, they are sacred interventions. Divine timing removes movement specifically to force reflection. When everything is happening fast, you don't have the space to see clearly. You respond automatically, not consciously. You move from habit, not intuition. A slowdown interrupts the momentum of old timelines so a new one can form. It pulls you out of patterns you didn't realize were draining you. It makes you confront feelings you've been avoiding. It brings up insights you would never have noticed while rushing. Reflection is how the soul speaks, and silence is the language it uses. During these spiritually orchestrated pauses, you may notice your emotions stabilizing. Your thoughts become clearer. You begin to understand the deeper reasons behind past events. What felt confusing suddenly makes sense. Solutions appear effortlessly. You realize that the slowdown wasn't blocking you. It was saving you from acting prematurely. It was ensuring that the next step you take is aligned with your highest timeline, not your old fears or urgent impulses. So if your life feels slower right now, if communication has softened, if plans have paused, if nothing is moving, trust that this is not the universe denying you. It is the universe preparing you. You are being positioned for something more aligned, more elevated, and more meaningful than what you were chasing. The slowdown is the doorway. Reflection is the key. And when movement returns, it will be guided, powerful, and perfectly timed. One of the most misunderstood stages of the twin flame journey is the emotional detox, the period when old emotions, long-buried memories, and unresolved feelings suddenly rise to the surface again. This phase can feel confusing because it often happens right before union energy becomes stronger. You may wonder, why am I feeling this again? Didn't I already heal this? But in reality, these resurfacing emotions are not signs of regression. They are signs of completion. Your soul is clearing the final residue of what cannot exist in the energy of union. Old emotions resurface one last time because your vibration is rising higher than it has ever been. As you move toward the frequency of reunion, anything that vibrates lower, fear, insecurity, self-doubt, abandonment wounds, cannot travel with you. These emotions come up again not to hurt you, but to leave you. They appear so you can acknowledge them from a place of power rather than pain. You're no longer reacting from the wound, you're witnessing the last fragments of it dissolve. This is emotional release, not emotional repetition. Your soul is saying, you are ready to let this go for good. This detox is essential because you cannot carry stagnant energy into union. The twin flame connection is a mirror of truth and authenticity. Any old emotional toxins, resentment, unspoken fear, unresolved triggers, or outdated narratives from past versions of you would create distortion in the union if not cleared. The universe knows this, and your higher self knows this. That is why the detox intensifies just before a major shift. It's like the final cleansing of your energetic field. What once felt overwhelming now feels like a gentle purge. You are releasing what was heavy so you can hold the frequency of what is divine. Clearing stagnant energy is not always comfortable, but it is liberating. You may cry unexpectedly. You may feel nostalgic. You may even feel moments of sadness with no clear reason. This is all part of the purification. Just like the body becomes lighter after releasing physical toxins, the soul becomes clearer after releasing emotional ones. You are not falling apart, you are shedding. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. And each release creates space for deeper clarity, purer intuition, and a higher sense of self. Emotional detox sharpens your intuition in powerful ways. Once the emotional fog lifts, your inner guidance becomes louder and more accurate. You begin to distinguish fear from truth. You stop misinterpreting your twin flame's silence or actions. You sense their energy more clearly. You know what is real instead of assuming the worst. The quieter your emotional storms become, the more precisely your intuition speaks. This is how you shift from emotional reaction to soul-level knowing. The emotional detox is the soul's final preparation for union. It brings your energy back into balance. It aligns your heart with your higher self. It ensures that when union energy enters, it lands on healed ground, not wounded soil. So if you're feeling old emotions rise again, trust the process. This is not the beginning of the cycle, it is the ending. You are clearing space for the love, the clarity, and the reunion that are already on their way to you. One of the most profound truths of the twin flame journey is this: you never shift alone. No matter how far apart you may be in the physical world, no matter how silent things seem on the surface, your souls are always communicating beneath the noise of the human experience. When you begin to rise, to let go, to heal, to surrender, your twin flame feels it. They don't always understand it with their mind, but they feel it in their energy, in their emotions, and in the quiet spaces of their spirit. This is the sacred mirroring that binds twin flames. It is subtle, invisible, yet undeniably real. The first sign of this shared shift is emotional mirroring. You may notice that as you release old worries, fears, and attachments, your twin starts changing too. Their mood shifts. Their behavior fluctuates. They may feel sudden waves of reflection, sadness, hope, or nostalgia without knowing why. This mirroring isn't a coincidence. It is your energy communicating with theirs. When you stop carrying anxiety, they stop responding to it. When you soften into peace, they feel safer emotionally. When you step into your higher self, they begin sensing a pull toward their own inner growth. This emotional mirroring happens beyond the conscious mind. It is soul-level synchronization. During this shared energetic movement, your twin might also experience a sudden urge to retreat or reevaluate. This can confuse you, especially if you feel more open, more ready, and more aligned. But the reason they pull back is not because they're resisting the connection. It's because they are feeling the intensity of your evolution, and their soul is nudging them to rise as well. For some twins, this awakening feels overwhelming at first. They retreat to process it. They withdraw to understand themselves. They question their choices, their relationships, their identity, and even their patterns. It is their way of preparing internally for what their soul already knows is coming, the next phase of the connection. This retreat is not rejection, it is recalibration. Your twin experiences your shift as a spiritual invitation. They may not respond immediately in the physical realm, but energetically, they begin reorganizing. Their heart opens in small, fragile ways. Their intuition becomes sharper. Their emotional walls grow thinner. They feel a longing for peace they cannot explain. They feel a pull toward authenticity they once avoided. Something in them whispers, "It's time to grow." All of this is part of a mutual energetic preparation happening unconsciously. While you work on yourself consciously, through healing, reflection, solitude, and alignment, your twin is doing the same work in their own way, even if their process looks different. You are both heading toward the same energetic destination. You are both clearing the residue of past fear. You are both preparing to meet each other at a higher frequency, not through force, but through natural alignment. You may not see their transformation, but you will feel it. The silence between you becomes softer. The distance feels less painful. The connection feels more stable, more grounded, more real. This is how you know the shift is mutual. Your soul feels calm, not anxious. Your heart feels ready, not longing. Your energy feels whole, not searching. Your transformation becomes their transformation. Your healing becomes their clarity. Your growth becomes their awakening. Twin flames rise together, not always side by side, but always soul to soul. Your body is not just flesh and bone, it is a finely tuned spiritual receiver, a living antenna capable of sensing energetic shifts long before your mind can interpret them. And when the twin flame reunion energy begins moving toward you, your physical body often feels it first. Long before signs appear in the external world, the internal world speaks through subtle sensations, tingles, pressure, warmth, vibrations, and sudden waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. These cues are not random. They are confirmation. They are your system adjusting itself to a higher frequency. One of the first signs is physical cues of alignment. You may feel tingling on the crown of your head, pressure between your eyebrows, warmth in your chest, or sudden rushes of energy flowing through your hands and feet. These sensations aren't medical, they're metaphysical. They signal that your energetic channels are opening. Your vibration is rising to meet a new timeline. And your inner field is preparing for the next level of connection. Twin flame reunion energy moves through the body like electricity clearing a pathway. What feels like tingling or heat is actually your soul expanding, recalibrating, and aligning with its divine mirror. As this energy intensifies, you may also notice your sensitivity increasing during the isolation phase. When you withdraw from noise, people, and external stimulation, your spiritual senses sharpen. Your intuition becomes louder. Your energetic awareness becomes heightened. You may feel more sensitive to light, sound, or emotions, not because you are fragile, but because you are attuned. Isolation strips away interference, allowing you to feel what your spirit has been trying to communicate for weeks. This heightened sensitivity is not overwhelm, it is preparation. Your energy field becomes more receptive. You start sensing your twin flames' emotions more clearly. You feel their shifts, their thoughts, their longing, their fears, all because your energetic channels are open and no longer distracted by external noise. This is also the phase where you begin receiving energetic downloads, bursts of insight, clarity, or inner knowing that appear suddenly without logical explanation. Downloads can feel like warmth spreading across your chest, a surge of intuitive certainty, a pressure on the crown, or a sudden emotional release. They arrive in moments of stillness, often when you're alone, resting, or drifting to sleep. These downloads are the universe upgrading your internal guidance system. They help you understand the next steps in your journey, release outdated beliefs, and align with the timeline that brings union closer. They come from your higher self, your guides, and the shared soul energy between you and your twin flame. Your body speaks in ways the mind cannot. It alerts you when alignment is near. It signals when your twin flame is thinking of you. It prepares you for timelines your conscious mind hasn't yet stepped into. And every physical sensation, every tingle, every wave of heat, every sudden shiver, is a reminder that your spiritual evolution is not imaginary. It is embodied. It is real. It is happening. Trust your body. It knows when reunion energy is approaching. It feels the shift before you understand it. It senses the connection long before the physical world reflects it. Your body is the bridge between the spiritual and the material, and right now, it is telling you that something extraordinary is unfolding. There comes a point on your spiritual path where you begin to feel a disconnect, not because something is wrong, but because something within you has risen. Your energy shifts, even if your life looks the same on the outside. You begin to vibrate on a frequency that your old environments can no longer meet. And while this transition can feel strange or unsettling at first, it is one of the clearest signs that your soul is growing beyond anything you've ever known. The first signal is often the feeling that certain places suddenly feel heavy. Rooms that once felt comfortable now feel draining. Workspaces you tolerated for years feel suffocating. Social settings lose their sparkle. Even familiar locations, your favorite cafe, your usual hangout spot, your own home, may begin to carry a density that you can't explain. This heaviness isn't in the place, it's in the mismatch. When your vibration rises, your body begins to sense the energetic weight of environments that haven't evolved. Your system becomes more aware of stagnant energy, old memories, and emotional imprints that once blended into the background. You're not becoming sensitive in a fragile way, you're becoming perceptive in a higher way. Along with spaces, you may also notice people beginning to feel energetically distant. Not because of conflict, but because your frequencies no longer resonate. Conversations feel forced. Their worries feel foreign. Their drama no longer pulls you in. Even people you love may feel like they're speaking from a world you no longer inhabit. It's not rejection, it's energetic divergence. When your inner world expands, you stop matching the emotional patterns of those who remain in older timelines. Their presence doesn't feel wrong, it simply feels somewhere else. And instead of feeling guilty, your soul feels neutral. This neutrality is the clearest sign that your energy has risen beyond emotional enmeshment. One of the most beautiful aspects of this stage is that you begin outgrowing environments without conflict. There is no arguing, no dramatic ending, no resentment. Just a quiet realization that you don't belong in certain spaces anymore. Your soul has moved on even if your physical life hasn't caught up yet. You don't fight to stay where you once forced yourself to fit. You don't chase connections that used to define you. You don't cling to roles that kept you small. Instead, you simply rise, and anything that cannot rise with you naturally falls away. This is spiritual evolution. When you grow, you don't need to push people away or escape environments. Your new frequency does the work for you. It gently closes old chapters without chaos. It guides you toward people who meet you with clarity instead of confusion. It pulls you toward places where you feel light instead of heavy. It aligns you with environments that nourish your soul instead of draining it. If you feel disconnected from old spaces or old circles, trust this shift. You are not losing anything, you are expanding beyond it. You are being guided into a reality that matches your new energy. You are stepping into environments that reflect your growth, your peace, and your higher truth. Your soul is simply moving you where you've always belonged. There is a moment on every spiritual path when you realize you are no longer living from the patterns that once controlled you. Something inside you has shifted, quietly, profoundly, and you begin responding to life in a way that feels calmer, wiser, and more grounded. This is the moment your higher self begins taking the lead. Not the fearful self. Not the wounded self. Not the reactive self. But the timeless, eternal part of you that always knew where your journey was heading. One of the clearest signs of this inner leadership is reduced emotional reactivity. Situations that once triggered you suddenly feel manageable. Conversations that once spiraled into anxiety now pass through you with ease. Even challenges that would have overwhelmed you in the past feel strangely neutral. This isn't numbness, it's mastery. It means your higher self is filtering your experiences before your wounds can attach to them. You stop absorbing other people's energy. You stop reacting from fear or impulse. You begin choosing your responses consciously, from a place of maturity rather than survival. When your higher self leads, your emotions no longer control you, you guide them with grace. Another powerful sign of this shift is the feeling of internal certainty without evidence. You may not know why, but you simply know. You feel aligned without needing external validation. You trust decisions without overthinking them. You sense what is meant for you without needing proof. This inner certainty is the voice of your higher self, quiet but unwavering. It gently tells you, "This is right," even if your mind can't explain why. It gives you confidence to move forward, not because the path is clear, but because your intuition is stronger than your fear. This certainty is the foundation of spiritual maturity. It's the knowing that comes from the soul, not the intellect. You may also notice something else, something subtle, yet life-changing. You feel guided rather than confused. The fog that once clouded your decisions begins to lift. You feel supported, as if invisible hands are rearranging things around you. You instinctively know when to pause, when to act, when to detach, when to surrender. Synchronicities align more effortlessly. Messages appear at the perfect moment. People cross your path precisely when they're meant to. This guidance doesn't feel forced, it feels natural. You stop chasing answers and start receiving them. The universe begins communicating through signs, timing, and intuition, and you finally feel ready to trust it. When your higher self leads, life becomes less about resistance and more about flow. You don't cling. You don't force. You don't fear endings. You recognize that every shift carries meaning, every delay carries purpose, and every redirection is a form of protection. You move from anxiety into alignment, from doubt into knowing, from confusion into quiet clarity. If you're experiencing reduced reactivity, inner certainty, or a sense of divine guidance, it's not random. It means you are rising. It means you are aligning with the version of you that has always been waiting. It means your higher self is finally steering the journey, and you are becoming who you were always meant to be. One of the most beautiful and least recognized stages of the twin flame journey is the gentle dissolving of fear before union. Unlike the dramatic emotional breakthroughs you may have experienced earlier in your path, this shift arrives quietly. It doesn't come with fireworks, tears, or sudden revelations. Instead, fear begins to lose its grip in soft, subtle ways, so subtle that many people don't realize they've entered a new energetic chapter until they look back and see how differently they're moving through life. This soft dissolving is a sign that your soul has reached a level of emotional maturity where fear can no longer anchor itself inside you. It doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds gradually, like ice melting under the warmth of sunlight. You simply notice that situations that once made your heart race now feel neutral. Worries that used to spiral endlessly now fade within minutes. Old triggers that once felt sharp now feel dull, distant, or irrelevant. You're not fighting fear anymore, you're outgrowing it. This subtle shift opens the door to increased trust in the unseen, which is one of the clearest markers of approaching union. You begin trusting your journey even when there is no evidence. You trust your connection even when communication is silent. You trust your intuition even when logic cannot explain what you feel. This trust isn't forced or manufactured. It rises naturally from within. It feels like a deep inner knowing, a quiet internal voice whispering, "Everything is unfolding exactly as it should." You stop needing signs because you are the sign. Your energy becomes the proof. Your alignment becomes the confirmation. You start recognizing that the universe has been preparing the path long before your mind understood the journey. Nothing feels random anymore. Everything feels purposeful, even delays, pauses, and detours. This is the trust that allows union energy to finally imprint itself into your reality. Fear cannot coexist with this level of faith. As fear dissolves and trust deepens, something else begins to form, a quiet confidence. Not a loud, ego-driven confidence, but a steady, gentle, grounded one. A confidence that doesn't need to prove anything, chase anything, or force anything. You begin moving through your days with a soft sense of certainty. You feel at home within yourself. You no longer question your worth. You no longer wonder if you're doing enough. You no longer try to control outcomes. Instead, you settle into a peaceful acceptance that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and that includes your twin flame. This quiet confidence becomes your default mode. It fills your conversations, your decisions, your energy field. Others may notice that you're calmer, more stable, more grounded. You respond instead of react. You observe instead of absorb. You hold your center even when others lose theirs. This is the energy of union, not because union has already arrived in the physical world, but because it has begun anchoring within you. Fear fades not through force, but through evolution. And if you feel this peaceful shift inside you, this calm trust, this subtle certainty, know that your soul has stepped into alignment with the timeline where union becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Before twin flames meet in the physical, something extraordinary happens inside you, a merging, a balancing, a soft alignment that you may not even have words for. This is the inner union, the sacred integration of your own masculine and feminine energies. Long before the physical reunion arrives, your soul prepares the energetic foundation by healing the separation within you. The outer union is the reflection. The inner union is the cause. You may notice your masculine and feminine energies starting to balance. Your feminine energy, intuition, surrender, softness, begins to harmonize with your masculine energy, action, clarity, protection. You no longer swing between extremes. You no longer feel lost in emotion or trapped in overthinking. Instead, you move with a blended grace. You feel deeply yet act clearly. You receive guidance yet take aligned steps. You rest without guilt and move without fear. This is the merging of polarities. It is your soul finding its center. This balance creates something powerful inside you, inner harmony. And it is this harmony that magnetizes the outer union. When your internal energies are in conflict, when your feminine is wounded, or your masculine is rigid, you unconsciously repel what you desire. But when harmony rises, you emit a frequency of stability, clarity, and love. This frequency becomes impossible for your twin flame to resist. The more peaceful you become internally, the more your external connection aligns. You don't magnetize union through longing, you magnetize it through balance. Inner harmony is not about perfection, it's about integration. You stop treating your emotions as weaknesses. You stop treating logic as the enemy. You stop abandoning yourself in the process of loving someone else. Instead, your inner world becomes a sanctuary. Your thoughts and feelings work together, not against each other. You begin to feel whole, not because someone returned, but because you returned to yourself. And this wholeness is what dissolves the chase-runner dynamic. The chase and the run don't end when one person suddenly decides to stop running, they end when you stop chasing energetically. When you no longer seek validation. When you no longer try to control outcomes. When you no longer wait anxiously for signs. When you no longer measure your worth through their actions. You stop chasing not because you gave up, but because you grew up spiritually. You now stand in energetic sovereignty. You no longer project your fears onto them. You no longer expect them to fill your wounds. You no longer tie your emotional stability to their behavior. This is the moment the chase-runner dynamic collapses inside you. And when the energy of pursuit dissolves, the runner no longer has anything to run from. Your twin flame feels the shift in your vibration. They feel your detachment from fear, not from love. They feel your inner union calling them forward. They sense the safety, the softness, the groundedness rising within you. The inner union is the magnet. The inner harmony is the signal. The inner completion is the invitation. When the masculine and feminine within you embrace, the outer reunion becomes the natural next step, not through effort, but through resonance. Not through pressure, but through alignment. And if you feel this balance forming within you now, know that the outer union is already on its way. There comes a moment on your spiritual path when something inside you sighs, not in exhaustion, but in release. A karmic cycle, one that may have carried years of emotion, lessons, and repeating patterns, begins to dissolve. Not through confrontation, not through dramatic endings, but through quiet inner transformation. If you have been feeling very different towards situations that once consumed you, you may already be standing at the end of a karmic loop that your soul has finally completed. One of the first signs is that old patterns stop feeling addictive and start feeling boring. What once hooked your emotions, arguments, familiar wounds, emotional highs and lows, no longer stimulates you. The dynamic that once felt intense or meaningful now feels repetitive, predictable, even empty. You may catch yourself thinking, I don't have the energy for this anymore. Not from fatigue, but from growth. The karmic pattern loses its charge because you finally learned what it came to teach you. You don't need this cycle to continue. You don't need the drama to validate your presence. You have stepped beyond the emotional frequency that once kept you entangled. Another powerful sign is experiencing no emotional charge toward past wounds. You might remember an old situation, a painful memory, or a person who deeply triggered you, and feel nothing. Not numbness, not denial, but neutrality. You don't replay it in your mind. You don't seek justice. You don't fantasize about closure. You simply feel detached from the story. What once pierced your heart now feels like a distant echo. The wound is not being ignored, it has healed. This emotional neutrality is one of the strongest confirmations that a karmic cycle is ending. You are not carrying the pain anymore, you are carrying the wisdom. At this stage, you also begin to feel a sense of completion, without needing closure talks. The old version of you might have craved explanations, apologies, or emotional validation. But now, you no longer feel the urge to reopen conversations that would only recycle old energy. You understand that closure doesn't come from words spoken between two people. It comes from an internal shift, when your soul no longer resonates with the old timeline. You feel complete because you have reclaimed your energy. You have stopped looping in old narratives. You have stopped searching for meaning in places where your soul no longer belongs. This sense of completion is quiet, dignified, and deeply liberating. It is the closure of the soul, not the ego. When a karmic cycle ends, life doesn't always change instantly, but you do. You respond differently. You attract differently. You choose differently. You no longer align with the people or dynamics that matched your wounded self. Instead, you vibrate at a frequency that pulls you into new environments, new opportunities, and new relationships that honor your growth. The universe rearranges pathways in your favor because you are no longer bound to repeating the past. If you're feeling a soft, unexplained completion inside you, trust it. This is not you giving up, this is you graduating. The karmic cycle did what it needed to do. And now your soul is ready for a new chapter that finally matches who you've become. As you draw closer to the moment of twin flame union, something profound begins unfolding inside you, a subtle yet unmistakable shift that feels like an energetic countdown. Nothing dramatic, nothing chaotic. Instead, it arrives as a deepening clarity, a sharpening of intuition, and a sense that something is aligning behind the scenes. You may not see the physical evidence yet, but spiritually, the gears are already turning. Your soul knows what your mind has not yet understood. Union energy is approaching. One of the first signs of this countdown is when your intuition becomes laser-focused. Suddenly, vague feelings turn into clear inner knowing. Doubts fade. Confusion dissolves. You start recognizing what resonates and what doesn't with remarkable accuracy. Situations that once felt complicated now reveal their truths instantly. You no longer interpret silence as rejection or distance as loss. Instead, you sense the deeper purpose beneath everything. Your intuition becomes so sharp that even the smallest energetic shift feels significant. This is not imagination, it is preparation. Your inner guidance is synchronizing with the timeline of union, ensuring that you move from a state of emotional reaction into a state of spiritual alignment. During this countdown, your energy undergoes last-minute adjustments. These adjustments can feel like emotional purging, sudden fatigue, physical sensations of intensity, or quick bursts of clarity. Old wounds may flicker briefly, not to pull you backward, but to ensure no residue remains. You may feel the urge to rest more, to think less, to disconnect from distractions. The universe is fine-tuning your vibration, removing anything that could distort the connection when the next phase begins. These adjustments are not setbacks. They are spiritual calibration, your soul aligning with the frequency that union requires. As this energetic countdown continues, you begin entering the window where old timelines collapse. What no longer serves you falls away quickly. People pull back. Situations dissolve. Habits you've outgrown lose their grip. Paths you once forced begin to close, while new ones subtly open. This collapse is not destruction, it is liberation. The old timeline, built on fear, wounds, and outdated beliefs, can no longer coexist with the new energy you're stepping into. The universe clears the path because you can no longer carry the weight of what was. You are being moved into alignment with what is becoming. This collapsing of old timelines often brings peace, not panic. You don't feel the urge to hold on anymore. You don't resist endings. You don't chase what drifts away. Instead, you witness everything with calm understanding, as if your soul already knows why each shift is happening. And this is the truth, your higher self does know. It knows that union cannot be built on outdated frequencies. It knows that the new terrain requires a new version of you, clear, grounded, and unburdened. When intuition sharpens, when adjustments intensify, when old timelines crumble effortlessly, it means the countdown is in motion. The energy is aligning. The path is clearing. And the version of you meant for union is beginning to emerge. If you feel this quiet acceleration in your spirit, trust it. You are not imagining the shift, you are sensing the arrival. The universe is preparing both you and your twin flame for a moment that will unfold not from force, but from divine timing. The countdown has begun. There comes a moment on every twin flame journey when you feel something shifting inside your sense of self, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, powerful, undeniable way. It's as though the person you used to be is slowly dissolving, and a new, more aligned version of you begins rising from within. This is the spiritual recalibration of your identity, a sacred inner transformation that prepares you not only for union with your twin flame, but for union with your true self. The first phase of this recalibration is dissolving the old self-concept. You begin to notice that the stories you once told about yourself no longer feel true. Labels you carried for years, unworthy, abandoned, not enough, too much, start fading. The emotional patterns that shaped your identity lose their hold. You no longer resonate with the wounded version of yourself who needed chasing, reassurance, or validation. You begin seeing yourself through a higher lens, through the eyes of your soul, not your fears. This dissolution is gentle but transformative. It is the shedding of identities built from pain, limitations, and coping mechanisms. You are not losing yourself. You are losing who you never truly were. As the old self falls away, you begin rewriting your role in the connection. You stop seeing yourself as the chaser or the abandoned one. You stop identifying as the one who waits, worries, or overextends. Instead, you recognize your divine role, not as someone seeking love, but as someone anchoring love. You step out of the wounded dynamic and into your soul's truth. You become the stabilizer rather than the seeker. You become the vibrational leader rather than the emotional responder. You understand that the connection is not about control, timing, or proof, it is about alignment. And as this inner shift happens, your energy stops pulling or pushing the connection. It begins guiding it. This is where the final stage emerges, becoming the version of you that union requires. Union does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be aligned. It asks you to be whole within yourself so that the connection is built on clarity, not fear. You become emotionally steady. You become grounded in your intuition. You become confident in your worth. You embody the love you once sought outside yourself. You stop waiting for your twin flame to validate your value because you finally feel it within. This version of you does not chase, cling, or collapse. This version of you attracts, invites, and allows. As you become this evolved self, the connection begins to shift without force. Your twin feels the change energetically. The dynamic stabilizes. Fear dissolves. Space opens. Union energy flows more freely. You are no longer operating from the past. You are living from your higher timeline. And the universe responds by aligning you with the next phase of your journey. If you've been feeling a quiet transformation in your identity, trust it. You're not just changing, you are becoming. You are stepping into the version of yourself that union recognizes. And as your identity rises into its higher truth, your connection rises with it. There is a moment on the twin flame journey, often after months or years of inner work, when something profound begins to shift inside you. You stop gripping. You stop pushing. You stop chasing. And without even trying, you slip into a frequency that feels lighter, softer, and clearer. This is the zero resistance state, the energetic space where everything begins to move in your favor because you are no longer standing in the way. It is not something you force or manufacture, it is something you become. And once you enter this state, the entire journey changes. The first sign of entering zero resistance is letting go without effort. Not letting go because you're tired, not letting go because you've given up, but letting go because your soul has outgrown the need to hold on. You no longer cling to outcomes. You no longer monitor signs obsessively. You no longer fear losing the connection. Instead, a quiet certainty rises within you that what is meant for you can never pass you. Letting go becomes natural. It feels like opening your hands after years of gripping something too tightly. You exhale. You soften. You release. Not from pain, from wisdom. This effortless release is the spiritual signature of alignment. Once resistance dissolves, your energy moves into a different rhythm, receiving instead of seeking. You no longer chase answers. You recognize that answers arrive when you are ready to understand them. You no longer chase communication. You trust that connection happens when both souls align. You no longer chase signs. You become energetically sensitive enough to notice them without searching. Receiving is feminine, intuitive, magnetic. It invites blessings instead of demanding them. It opens doors instead of knocking desperately. When you receive, you step into a frequency of abundance, openness, and sacred trust. You shift from, "How do I make this happen?" to, "I allow what is meant for me to arrive." This zero-resistance state is what fast-tracks union. When your energy is no longer tense, fearful, or grasping, the pathway between you and your twin flame becomes clear. Resistance blocks communication, alignment, and movement. But when resistance dissolves, the connection becomes fluid again. Your twin feels it instantly. The energetic pressure they once felt from your fear or longing fades. Your neutrality becomes an invitation. Your peace becomes magnetic. Your softness becomes irresistible. Union energy doesn't flow where there is pushing, controlling, or attaching. It flows where there is openness. In zero resistance, you radiate the exact frequency that reunion requires: trust. Not blind trust. Soul-level trust. The kind that comes from knowing that nothing real can be taken from you and nothing aligned will ever slip away. This state accelerates timelines because you are finally matching the vibration of union, stable, calm, receptive, and surrendered. If you feel yourself relaxing into a space where you are no longer fighting the journey, take it as a sign. You are entering the gateway where miracles unfold quietly. This is the frequency where the universe works on your behalf. This is the energy where alignment moves faster than effort ever could. And this is the state where union becomes not a question, but a certainty. You are stepping into the flow. And in the flow, everything arrives. If this message resonated with you, if you felt that pull in your chest, that deep knowing in your spirit, then trust it. You're not imagining the shift, you're feeling the beginning of it. The energy of December is already aligning, already rearranging, already preparing you for the next chapter of your twin flame journey. Remember, union doesn't arrive through force, it arrives through alignment. So stay grounded, stay open, and stay connected to your inner guidance over these next few days. The universe is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see, but you can feel. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you found clarity, comfort, or confirmation in this message, please give the video a like. It truly helps this channel reach more souls who need this guidance. And before you go, I want you to anchor today's energy in the comments. Comment the word prepared. If you're ready to step into the first week of December with clarity, alignment, and an open heart. Your comment is not just a word, it's a declaration of readiness. It's you telling the universe, I am aligned. I am steady. I am ready for what's coming. Make sure you're subscribed for more high-frequency twin flame messages, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay centered, stay grounded, and remember, your reunion is not just possible. It's already on its way.